This week we're going to look at project management. So a project is a unique, one-time operational activity or event. When we are managing a project, we have the planning phase, we have scheduling, and then we have control. So we talk about the planning phase, we need to determine what are our objectives of the project. So this is a detailed statement of what the project will accomplish. So how do we know if we've been successful in this project? We want to make sure with this that it aligns with our strategic plan. We also need to identify the scope of the project because we have a tendency to take on way more than we can do, and we don't want to be held accountable for things that we weren't going to even take on. So we need to narrow the scope. So when we define the scope, we're looking at how we're going to approach our project. So what resources will we need? What tasks will be done? Again, your objective and your scope together tell us whether or not, or how we will know whether we've been successful. In that planning stage, we also need to outline exactly what we're going to need in order to do this project. So that includes what materials, but also includes what people and what their responsibilities are going to be. So we often put all this into a project charter. That's where you're going to find the objectives and the scope. If you're looking at getting financing for this project, then likely you're doing some return on investment calculations. Now let's look at planning, where we define what jobs need to be done and then who's going to do them. So we have what is called a work breakdown structure, and this is where we break down a project into its components, into the activities and tasks. So let's suppose, for example, that the project we are doing is we're building a house. So the components then are the parts of a house. So we would need, for example, a foundation, we would need walls, a roof, and then the activities are then what we would do in order to create the foundation. So for example, we might need to level the ground, we need to dig a hole, we could keep going, we need to build forms, we need to pour the concrete. So here are the different parts of that component that makes up the bigger project, which is to make the house. So what we're doing is we're taking the work and we're breaking it down into its pieces. And so activities are subsections, steps within the components, tasks are within activities. So all you're doing is drilling down. You can have even more layers than that. Once you have your work breakdown structure, you kind of need, now in terms of a successful project, overall, big picture, we need to build a house. To get the house, we need foundation, walls, roof. We need those components. To get each of those components, we need to do these activities. So the next step after that is to then figure out who's going to do them and who's going to be responsible for them. So we can take those activities that we had on our work breakdown structure, like dig a hole and level the ground, build forms, pour concrete. We take the activities and then we need to find OBS units. So these OBS units are organizational, breakdown units. Breakdown structure units. So the idea is, who are the people that are going to be responsible for these activities? So perhaps we have someone a trades company that we're going to hire that does concrete. Okay. Maybe we're going to hire a different company who's going to dig the hole. Maybe we have a surveyor who's going to look at the ground before any of this is done. We also have a manager who's managing the project, so our site manager. And so we could lay out then who all the people are who are involved in this project. The next thing we do is we identify their level of responsibility. So we can list out their responsibility between 1 and 3. So 1, if they are the one who is primarily responsible. 3, if they are providing the support. And 2, if it's somewhere in between. So perhaps the site manager is the one who is responsible for coordinating the dig. And perhaps we have someone else who is doing the actual work. And maybe we have another party that is providing some additional support or coordination. And so they would then have a level 3. And so we're identifying then who's responsible, what level of responsibility for each of the activities in our project to help us better plan and then implement the project.